Hi, I'm from the US, but I'm living in and having a love affair with Mexico. I've been here for a year, and this is why Mexican malls are slam dunking all over malls in the US. Including the sheer beauty of the malls, the fact that there are actually casinos in the malls, and that they seem to definitely cater to an international consumer base, plus much more, which will fully explain why Mexico has the best shopping malls the world has ever seen. Let's start with just the way these malls look. The beauty of the malls in Mexico is unparalleled. We're at La Isla Mall in Puerto Vallarta here, and there's a river that runs the full length of the mall. And at its end, there's a turtle exhibit, and my wife happens to really love turtles. So this mall is very special to her. But beyond that, this is the biggest and most beautiful H&M location I've ever seen. Have you all ever seen a two-story H&M before? Because I've only seen these in Mexico. I mean, it's kind of wild that they did all this for a fast fashion store, but after you get inside, it's just like normal, except for the escalator and grandiose size of it. But in Mexico, they take pride in building these monuments to consumerism. And you can tell this place took a lot of planning. And they're not even done yet. Soon they'll be opening an aquarium that promises to have a penguin exhibit. What mall do you know of in the US that has penguins? I'll wait. I've also visited a mall that has monkeys, which is wild. So please don't tell me that this is what malls used to be like in the US, because even when malls were at their peak in the US, they weren't like this. Unfortunately, in the US, malls are shutting down all over the place. Likewise, many of the stores that used to be in those malls are also shutting down or going bankrupt. Many people in Mexico are shocked to hear that Sears, Bed Bath & Beyond, Toys R Us, and so many more have all closed their doors permanently. Because in Mexico, this is not the case. I even saw a Radio Shack in the mall in Mexico. And I haven't seen one of these stores in years. But in Mexico, malls are places where people hang out, shop, go to the movies and dinner, so it's easy to see why they're so popular. Mexican malls even have casinos. This is something I've never seen anywhere in the US other than maybe Las Vegas. But Vegas is different. They have slot machines at the airport in Las Vegas. There's almost nowhere that doesn't offer gambling in Vegas. But Mexico has a very wholesome vibe, and as a fun sort of juxtaposition to that, right down the hallway from the food court or a department store is usually a casino where you can bet your whole life savings on a single hand of blackjack. But as long as you can stay away from doing that, you should not miss out on the casinos. There's a really good atmosphere, cheap drinks, and good food for not a lot of money. But they will make their money back, unless you're able to stay away from the gambling. I actually haven't done any gambling since I've been in Mexico, but it's definitely tempting. I have gone in a few casinos just to see what it's all about, and take advantage of those food prices. And when you're in one of these casinos, it's really easy to forget that when you leave, you're right back in the middle of a shopping mall. One thing that is a little different are the Apple stores, or lack thereof. So instead of there being an Apple store, there might be a Mac store or some variation of that same thing. Most of them are verified partners, and they do sell basically all the same products. But the prices in Mexico might be a little different. And by that I mean they're higher, which I definitely blame on Apple. If I were to guess, I'd say the price hike probably has something to do with the partner stores needing to raise prices to stay profitable. Apple could do something about that, and they should. But there does happen to be Samsung stores. But there are lots of other options for phones in Mexico that you could never find in the US. So if you can't find a good deal on an iPhone, you could check out a Xiaomi or a Huawei or several other phones that are banned in the US. And there are many stores in the malls in Mexico I don't think my US audience would be familiar with, like Suburbia, which is a department store that's very regular and just a little bit too middle of the road for me. And there is Psycho Bunny, which is pretty cool, I guess. But they charge a lot of money just to have a bunny logo on their shirts. I mean, it is a pretty cool looking bunny though. There's also a store I see all the time called Lefties, which to my knowledge is not found in the US. It's mostly women's clothes, but it does have a small men's section and everything here seems fairly high end. Then there's Optima. This store is a little more reasonably priced, and it has a lot of graphic tees, and a more chill vibe. Stores like this are definitely more my speed. On another note, the stores are different, but they oddly do seem to cater to US, Canadian, and British customers. And by that, I mean that almost all of the graphic tees have English writing on them. It's very rare to see a graphic tee at any mall with Spanish writing. Actually, I've never seen it, which is too bad because I would totally be interested in buying something like that. I've regularly been looking for a Nike or Adidas shirt, or really any sports brand graphic tees with Spanish writing. So if those don't exist, hopefully they will soon. Another thing I really like about the malls in Mexico is that sometimes they'll have these Chinese discount stores where you can find literally anything you can think of, from gardening tools to fake Nike merchandise. They've got it all. But I did want to show you some of this Nike merch, and notice how the Adidas merch has the exact same design and stickers. But I'll have to assume they did some kind of collab and I just never heard about it. Now you can say what you want about these stores, but when you need an obscure or random item and no other store seems to carry it, places like this will be there for you. And right outside of that, you can have a Jurassic ride on one of these animatronic dinosaurs. These are a little weird, but kids seem to love them. You just rent your favorite dinosaur and ride it around the mall. It's kind of like a mobility scooter, but with more potential copyright infringement. But who cares about copyrights? They're probably a lot of fun. Another really cool thing is that oftentimes in Mexico, barber shops will sometimes double as a tattoo parlor, which makes perfect sense when you think about it. But I've never seen this in the US, and you can get all of that done at your local shopping mall while riding your animatronic dinosaur. Now, one thing Mexican malls definitely have over US malls are the food courts. Because come on, the food is always better in Mexico. And for some reason, even the fast food and other restaurants you typically see in the US are a little better in Mexico. I actually went to a Chili's while at the Galerías Mall in Puerto Vallarta because it has a really good view of the water, and they had a meal deal where you get a soda, a salad, and an entree with fries for only 169 pesos, which is like $7 or $8 USD. And I'm pretty sure you could never find a deal like that in the US. But beyond that, the service and the atmosphere is always really good at any restaurant you go to, even if it is just a neighborhood Chili's. Another thing is that the malls in Mexico have lots of grocery stores. It's pretty common, and I've seen this in the US too, sometimes. I remember back in my hometown in the US, there being like a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or something like that in the mall. But it closed down, I think. I never went there. But the closing down of mall stores is pretty typical in the US. However, in Mexico, it's a totally normal thing to see a Soriana or even a Walmart at the mall. And I've never seen a Walmart in a mall in the US. Now, if you're wondering what the Walmarts are like in Mexico, they're basically the same. They have everything you can think of. Overworked employees, long lines at checkout, and almost every product you can imagine. Oh, and one more thing about Suburbia, which is kind of like a less expensive Liverpool, which is similar to like a Macy's or something like that. I would say that Liverpool is basically the premier department store in all of Mexico. But back to Suburbia. I actually have not spent a lot of time in any of these, but my wife seems to really like this store, so I'm sure we'll be back. And this one happens to be 2 stories, so I could definitely see myself getting lost in here. Now, if you're not convinced that malls in Mexico are kicking the crap out of US malls, then you might need to wake up and watch my other video about the superiority of Mexican shopping malls. But first, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what the mall culture is like where you're at. Alright, till next time.